Hello and welcome to Scrambled Eggs. I'm your host, John McFarland. With me here today is Jonathan Jeans, Philip Sparn, Michael Jenkins, and Michael Creshew. Today we'll be talking about the continuing debt ceiling battle, conversations about the 2012 budget, and state birther bills. Stick around and we'll get to the topics. Welcome back. Let's get right to talking about the continuing budget battle involving the debt ceiling fight. Michael, what's the latest this week?
Well, the latest this week, it's the talking about Timothy Geithner right now has been talking about that the debt ceiling should be coming. That we're going to hit this debt in about middle of May. There's we just hit $4.3 trillion debt limit. There's exceptions that, because technically it was 14.3. There's been exceptions that allow that, but as they say, as of May, we should hit the debt ceiling.
So what's that going to involve for the federal government?
Well, the thing is, they will not be able to borrow more money. There's been talks about trying to tackle problems. There's been both parties, Democrats and Republicans, lately, as of like Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Jim DeMint. I think that if they're going to deal with the debt ceiling, that should be serious cuts.
Will this be the same level or worse than what a government shutdown would be?
I don't know too much research about it, as I know that you will not be able to borrow any more money.
There's a couple options on the table. There's either first you can just say we're going to raise the debt ceiling. There's a couple other options, and that's either you're going to say, okay, we're going to not raise the debt ceiling, and when we hit it, we're going to have to make a lot of broad, very deep cuts, or we're going to have to default on our credit. And both of those two options of not raising the debt ceiling is very dangerous and is very hurtful to our economy. That's basically staggered.
What about the people who say that not raising the debt ceiling, making the deep and necessary cuts as advocated by Tea Party House freshmen, would advocate that?
Some of those cuts are hundreds and hundreds of billions that we would have to take every day. And eventually, when it comes down to September, which is when this would really start hitting hard, it would be Medicare checks, it would be Social Security checks, it would be veterans benefits. We'd have to start cutting some serious things.
So you're basically saying we should raise it? That's what you're thinking about?
Yes. Well, the debt ceiling in the last 100 years has been raised 77 times. In the last 10 years, it's been raised.
I think that's ridiculous because if they haven't been playing politics and actually working on Capitol Hill, this could have been avoided.
Since 2001, it's been raised 10 times.
I'm saying we all know we're going to hit that debt ceiling. We all knew that even before this year even came up. So they should have been wanting to cut stuff before now. So the option of cutting.
The debt ceiling is not relative to the growing size of our economy. Our economy is growing. This is the amount of debt. It's not talking about the percentage of our debt. Our economy is growing. Is it not? Our country is growing, so our debt ceiling is going to have to grow. As you make more money, as you become bigger, your debt grows as well.
So if you're advocating that if the debt ceiling, if the government, or sorry, not the government, but the economy is growing, the debt ceiling has to grow with it, right?
Yes.
So why would we be trying to cut in the first place, anyways?
This has really just come down to a game of politics and chicken. Everybody's trying to score these points of trying to threaten that there's a government shutdown or threaten that we got to cut this. And so instead of it just being like what we've done for the 78th time, everybody's trying to make this a political game and making it more than what it's worth.
But not do anything to bring a solution to our debt problem?
Every piece of research out there says that we cannot do anything but raise this. Anything that we do besides raising the debt ceiling will hurt the economy.
My question is, if we raise it, are we not going to ever do anything about the debt?
This doesn't
because you're making a correlation to if the
there's
debt
not a
increases
correlation to policy about federal spending to this debt ceiling is what I'm saying. If it had something to do with the percentage of our GDP, then yes, it would have something to do with cutting, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's a relative number to the percentage of our GDP.
So you're saying, though, that if the debt increases, so will the economy? Because that's the thing you first started saying.
Do people that are more wealthy not have more on their credit cards than I do?
Yes.
Yes, they would. Because as they bring in more money, as they have more capital, their debt is going to grow as well as a percentage of
But
their
never need to pay it
GDP.
off?
But this debt ceiling doesn't have anything to do with the policy of paying off or cutting policies.
Well, that's what Tea
That's what they're
Party,
trying
but
to
that's
make
what
it.
Tea Partiers are trying to say.
Just an invisible line, right?
Yes, it's just like a credit line on
Yeah,
a
that
credit
can
card.
easily go up.
And a lot is said out there about this politicking of what do Americans do when times get tight. And people say they don't go and borrow more money. Well, actually, that's what Americans do. Whenever they get broke, they take out another mortgage, or they take out another credit card, or in my case, I get a student loan. It's what we do in tough times to be able to get through the hard times and to be able to progress through that time.
But the need for cutting is still there.
The need for cutting, but this doesn't have anything to do with that. This is a political game put on a credit line.
So how does it not have to do with cutting? Because they're saying, well, when we cut this will become less of an issue.
When you cut programs is when you're making the budget, not whenever this.
Not when you're determining how much you should spend and whether or not you should lift it.
But
or not.
if both sides of the aisle are trying to make a big deal about making necessary cuts for Americans, Democrats and Republicans, they're both using it as posturing. So how is it a political game if they're both playing the same game on the same chessboard?
That's what I'm saying. It's become a game of chicken, to where they're trying to make it more of it what it is, so they can try to get political points from it. And is where this debate needs to lie, is where it was last week in the budget, and then where it's going to be in the next few months in the 2012 budget. That's where the debate needs to lie on what we're cutting and what we're spending.
Okay, so to back it up, does everyone kind of agree with him on this?
I agree.
Yeah.
That we actually just need to defer this off until the 2012 budget debate and then raise the debt ceiling now?
Since
I mean,
1962,
raise
it's
it
been
and
done
still
77
cut.
times.
I mean, raise it and still cut.
Yeah.
That's point blank
And,
period.
and,
Just
that,
raise
and
it
that's
still
the
cut.
debate for another day. That's not whenever it's a potential of defaulting our credit, ruining world economies, putting us back into a double-dip recession. That's when that debate needs to happen, not when we're talking about the debt ceiling. And I think it's really just a lot of the Tea Party's influence on this. The Tea Party is just wanting these numbers and wanting this game and wanting to please their audience, because it's what they want, is they want to attack these Democratic congressmen, and they want to attack these policies at any chance they get. And this is just another ploy where they're trying to do that.
I know we're going to hit this coming in May. Do you think, regardless of the issue, that this is going to help Tea Party activists or going to hurt them in the long run?
It's going to hurt them if you show how kind of mixed up they have their knowledge, because obviously they do have it a little bit mixed up. They're telling Tea Parties that debt ceiling has everything to do with the debt. You see what I'm saying? Everything to do with like actual spending and stuff like that, and talking about we need to cut, because what Tea Party is like, cut now. You see what I'm saying? And so basically politicians need to come out and say, Democrats and Republicans alike need to come out and say, no, Tea Parties have this all mixed up, which they really do.
And you have, like, when you're talking about the mixed upness of the Tea Party, it has, like, they came to the table on this fiscal responsibility, and right now they're a little flustered. They're talking about social issues, they're talking about the economy, they're talking about a lot of issues.
And we'll get to more of that next up and in coming weeks. That's all the time we have for this segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back with another serving of scrambled eggs.
What if we live in a country without freedom of speech? Express your freedom of rights, no matter what.
Montgomery County Habitat for Humanity has the goal of providing a convenient one-stop facility for both donating and purchasing reclaimed building materials. This increases Habitat for Humanity's funding to build more decent, affordable homes while at the same time helping the community through reducing landfill use. Restore is in need of a few good volunteers. You can make a difference in your community. Will you? Stop by or call for more information on how you can help.
Got your head stuck in the clouds? So does Austin P. Austin P has a staff specialized in training students how to check and predict the weather accurately. Our students generally enjoy the atmosphere of learning. Real weather pattern scenarios are given to students and teamwork is encouraged to find the solution. Analog and digital instruments are used for weather prediction. Austin P has a weather station monitoring barometric pressures, temperature, and humidity. The information is then displayed onto a computer monitor where students are taught how to read and decipher the information. If you're ready for an exciting career in meteorology, Austin P will help you get there. For more information, call area code 931-221-7473 to speak with an advisor. Austin P, small school, big opportunities.
Welcome back. Now let's talk about what's going to happen in the next budget cycle. Philip, what do you think is going to be going on with this?
Well, I'm just really glad, first of all, that we have two sides. We know what the Obama administration is putting forward, and we know what the Republicans and their side is putting forward. And so it's going to give voters in 2012 the opportunity to pick whether they're going to go this way or that way. It's not going to be very hazy on where they stand. And President Obama has kind of really gone towards more of, back to his campaigning in the 2008, to where it's more of protecting the middle class, the lower class, protecting social programs such as Head Start and Planned Parenthood, and protecting a lot in education. That's where a lot of his emphasis is. It's about making responsible and smart cuts to where everyone has to share the burden.
But what about the other side of it?
The Paul Ryan and the Republicans?
Well, I mean the other side of the Obama plan of increasing taxes themselves on the wealthy.
Yeah, a lot of it is gone back to the getting rid of the Bush tax cuts.
Well,
and that's going to be his main platform going forward.
Well, see, that's what we wanted him to do at first,
yes.
Correct? So, like, all of this Obama budget, to me, it's not credible. You see what I'm saying? Because, like, at first he was like, we're protecting the middle class, we're going to do that. And then when he first got into office, it was, well, we'll continue with the Bush tax cuts and stuff like that. So
was, like, really
his protecting the middle
into
class thing, he had what?
Well,
his first few years
this
to do that,
also,
he wasn't
but
even
this
doing.
also goes back into an overarching thing by the Republicans, who said back when the Bush tax cuts first came along that this was a non-starter. You're not going to get anywhere by trying to cut this. And Boehner, Ryan, McConnell, most of the Republican elite have said, if you go after the Bush tax cuts, you're not going to get it, and we're going to make your life heck in a handbasket afterwards.
He had to compromise.
Yeah, you're right. He had to compromise. As a president, you have to be that leader and get something done.
But I'm saying, like, he came in backing the middle class, so there should have been no compromise.
Yeah, you say that he came in back in the middle class, and what has he done through as president? He's backed the middle class. If you look at the stimulus and you look at your tax return, your personal tax return, I guarantee that it's more than it was last year because of the policies he's implemented, like in the stimulus. 1/3 of the stimulus was tax cuts that we're all seeing in our tax
Michael, get in here.
I see what you're saying, that he should have done that in the beginning. We had discussions that, I mean, with the whole Bush tax cuts, he had supermajority, he had political capital in the beginning of his administration. If he'd done that, it would have been.
And we're forgetting to realize that he had to compromise on the Bush tax cuts to give unemployment benefits for those who have lost their job. And you can't tell me that's not protecting the lower and middle class.
I mean, I wasn't in favor of unemployment.
Well, okay, the one thing that we get into...
the many extensions of
the one thing that we get into is that now unemployment benefits are starting to expire again. Now the Bush tax cuts are here. What more can Obama give the Republicans now when they're saying, no, we're going with what Paul Ryan has proposed for cutting $4.4 trillion over the next 12 years? What else? There's nothing else that they can really give them if they have all the ground.
And that's going to be and that's why this is going to boil down to, we're going to see what each party represents. In 2012, we're going to see that the Paul Ryan and his side is trying to privatize Social Security, trying to make it to where Medicare is on a voucher system, trying to put all these health and guaranteed policies that we expect to receive in market's hands. And we've seen through the recession what can happen if you put Social Security into the private market. You lose in a recession. And so a lot of these programs that you're seeing the Republicans are trying to privatize is really going to sway voters. They're going to say, do I want my Medicare to be constant, and do I want my Social Security to be constant, or do I want to put it in their hands to where it can be unreliable? It can sway either way in the market.
One thing I'm not seeing from the Republicans is in the 2012 or 2010 election, they had their big plan for America, taking it back for America, and helping out the lower class and middle class. But it seems to me like all they are is they're caring about the rich. And it sounds to me like they've deceived half of the people who've voted for him in 2010.
Well, one thing I want to keep getting into is we see that Obama has at least said that he's going to do this, this, and this. But what ground can he give them, considering the fact that they're taking a hard line on the 2012 budget, and a very hard line, at least vocally. We don't know what they're doing in back rooms, but Obama has said, I'm giving you this, and I'm not backing down, while most of the Republicans are saying, I'm not backing down. So how is this going to play out when we get to the 2012 budget argument itself, and both of them are not going to back down? Are we just going to hit a shutdown in actuality this time?
I think there is a potential for what we've seen to where it's going to be kicked down the road so that it can be discussed in this upcoming election. And I think here's a prime opportunity for President Obama to use his bully pulpit. We've seen a sway in his confidence. We've seen a sway in the way that he is the ability to compromise. And he's going to give this to the American people. They're going to have this option.
But at the same time, when he's giving it to the American people, he is going to be running for re-election and campaigning against another opponent, whoever the Republican nominee is. So he's going to have multiple fights on his hand. Do you think he might even kick the can down to 2013 or 2014?
And we're putting all the emphasis on him on kicking the can. It's really up to the Congress on who puts this budget through. But it is going to become a campaign issue. We're going to have continuing resolutions, and I believe this is going to be the election issue, whether you're going to support the Republican side, whether it's protecting the upper class, like you said, or you're going to have the Democrat side who is protecting the lower middle class, as he has continued to do throughout his presidency.
I mean, I just honestly think his emphasis now, more so on this middle class and helping the middle class and stuff, is a campaign move, plain and simple. Middle class helped him get in there, is going to help him get in again. And so we saw the promises that we had at first. He got elected with those promises we had at first. He's promising again. He's trying to get elected again off those promises. He gave us promises at first, but he's still continuing with the Bush tax cuts and stuff like that. And so I'm saying, like, I'm believing him, but I'm kind of watching closely and cautiously optimistic, because I'm saying, yeah, it's campaign season, you're campaigning for this, I just want to see it happen.
Well, he can't really do everything he promised in just 4 years alone. That's
But
kind of like
that's
asking
something
America.
that's ignored, is that he, over the last 2 years,
He has accomplished a lot.
He has done a lot of things, and some of these things that you may be bitter about the Bush tax cuts or whatnot, they have been at the hands of trying to give something to lower and middle class. Like, if you really look at some of the stuff in the stimulus and some of the cash for clunkers and some of the first-time home buyers credit, some of these things have put our economy in a step, and they've been for the lower and middle class people.
Last comment.
It's more so a lot of stuff that he signed to me. I think basically the stuff that was done for middle class, I put that on Congress. I make that credible to a bunch of the congressmen pushing that stuff through. Obama just signed that stuff. I have to see it this time around, him actually working hard and pushing hard for that middle class and following through.
Well, this is another interesting 2012 discussion that we're going to get into quite a bit more, even through next year, even up to 2012 itself. But that's all the time we have for this topic. Stay with us, and we'll be right back after this break with our final helping of scrambled eggs.
Presidential primary coverage. We're joined over now.
The communications department has taught me how to use the technology that's available, whether it's video cameras, editing on computers.
You're not just sitting around looking, you're actually learning, you're up and you're down, you're moving.
Actually come out with a degree that, you know, on that piece of paper, what it says you can do, you can actually do, and you have experience in doing it.
Sports journalism department, they're going to prepare you for everything.
2, 1.
Welcome back to Studio 216 here at the Winfield Dunn Center.
You got the camera 1 minute, or you can be writing a script the next minute or on TV.
This is my dream. This is what I want to do.
Do you want to earn a degree but have a family to take care of? Is it hard for you to make it to class because of gas prices? For whatever reason, Austin Peay State University has a solution for you. APSU currently offers 13 different degrees online. It is convenient, and tuition and fees for online courses are the same as taking on-campus courses. To find out more information, visit online at www.apsu.edu/online or call 931-221-1014.
Welcome back. Let's end tonight with some talk about state legislatures around the country considering birther bills, which would regulate requirements about running for office. Michael, what's your opinion on this idea?
I thought it was all established in the Constitution, but that's beyond me at this point. I think it's happened simply because of Obama. In the first 2 years, people claim that the Obama administration has tried to shut the people up about the whole thing.
They did.
But if you look at the whole thing, if you disagree that Obama got in because they tried to cover up the whole conspiracy, that you're pretty much saying that the whole Constitution is flawed. You have to meet certain requirements to run for president, whether they advertise it to the public or not. I believe that Obama was born in this country or had parents who were born in this country, and he is fully eligible to become president. And I think that if we can debate this, we can talk about other conspiracies.
Everything hinges upon this one little piece of born in this country.
This is just another ill attempt by conservatives and Republicans to attack the president personally. This has been their Newt Gingrich style of politics, to where they have seen in the past, and in 2008 especially, of how the president's likability factor played a large role. Everyone, whether you agree with his policies or not, or whether you liked him or not, whether you agreed with the way he was taking our country, you liked him personally because of his family, because of the way he was. And this is just an attempt to try to attack that, to break him down, to attack his race, attack his religion, to attack his family.
But what I would like to see him do,
attack his birthplace now.
I would like to see him come out and take a stance against all rumors. These rumors, the thing is, this birther thing is huge now. He's been questioned about it and stuff like that. The administration's been questioned about it. His campaign team's been questioned about it. Nobody's really coming out with a definite
But isn't
answer.
he acting better than that? And he doesn't have to prove himself to anybody because he
already
won
doesn't have to prove himself because he's already president.
First of all, I want to get this out. His birth certificate is online right now.
Thank you.
You can look at it online. There's been Republican. There's been
just
many
like
people
illegal
have
immigrants
seen
in
it.
this country have false documents.
Are you calling him illegal immigrant?
I'm saying this. He has to come out.
He
has to come out and strike it down.
How many times
does
he have to walk around with his birth certificate in his hand?
You know what?
Well, hold on. Let Michael get in here. Let Michael get in here.
I know what you're saying. If he just came out, I believe he was born in the country. I'm a Republican, so it's not all Republicans. If he just came out and said, "Hey, here it is," show it once.
He's been there and done that.
Why did he have to do that?
He did that during his Senate campaign.
I'm just saying.
What nobody bothered about Senate? This is just.
Because people who vote aren't smart enough to realize that you have to meet requirements. He has to prove that.
Let him finish.
I'm just saying, if he presented it, that would shut the whole birthday conversation.
He's done that.
No, he hasn't. Instead of sitting there in speeches joking about it, jokingly striking those comments down, you don't jokingly do that. When you're in an interview, go in an interview with like somebody from CNN or something, and have your birth certificate right there with you.
There's been people done that already.
I don't want to see people do it. I want to see Obama do it. He probably was. He most likely was born in this country.
So really, you want him to walk around with his birth certificate?
But would that solve the problem? Would
I'm
people?
saying,
no, they come up with a new one.
People will believe that. 46% of Americans right now don't think the president was born in this country. That's a big percent.
You're relying a lot of your information
and you have to
on
think
a single
half
poll.
of the people
on 2 polls, on 2 or 3 polls.
And you have to think half of the people in that 40% were pretty much the same people who loved Bush all the way to the very end.
There are a majority of Americans who
regardless, if this situation still stays on the table, people's minds are going to swing. They're going to be like, well, maybe he wasn't. Then
Every new wave of conspiracy and skepticism, he's going to have to pull out his birth certificate, is what you want.
Regardless, it'll strike it all down.
He's done that.
They're going to find something new to bring him down.
What was shady to me was when he spent $2 million from his campaign to cover that up.
Go to factcheck.org and you can see it.
You don't need to spend $2 million on nothing to cover anything up. You can just put a picture of your birth certificate on your website. You can come out with it. That would have struck that all down. $2 million to cover that up. If I was born in the United States, I can show you right now. You see what I'm saying?
Walk around with your birth certificate. Walk around.
No, I'm saying I can prove that to you.
Where's your birth certificate?
I can prove that to you. But I'm saying I wouldn't need $2 million, let alone $10 to show you that I was born in this country. He spent that much money to cover that up. Why?
Where'd you get that from?
He's covered up so many situations.
When you have lawyers coming at, when you have lawyers from the opposing party coming at you, you're going to have to pay for a lawyer to defend yourself.
The only thing you have to do is say, Judge, this is my birth certificate. I was born here. They have certificates. They have stuff like that in Hawaii to show that. I think the federal government should come out with a bill saying that, hey, you do have to show your stuff.
There is a process.
There is a process.
There's a process, but it's not a public process.
There is a process. It's in the Constitution.
We, as the public, need to see that.
Otherwise,
this wouldn't even be an issue.
Like behind closed doors?
Otherwise, this wouldn't be a state issue. The states are coming out against us because it's too much up in the air. There's a gray area on stuff like this.
Do you not think there's a process that
I know there's a process, but I'm saying,
do
you think this has parallel to
think of how much Obama's campaign raised?
Are you really going to sit here and claim that President Obama is a legal immigrant?
One at a time. One at a time.
He raised a lot of money in his campaign. Point blank period.
Hold up, Michael, you've been...
Is there a correlation between us as Americans dropping down the charts in education? We're like, what, 26? And to the rise of people who believe that Obama wasn't, simply because that they don't know the behind the closed doors process, that you have to meet all these requirements to run for office.
The problem, what I'm saying is, states wouldn't come out with this. You see what I'm saying? If it wasn't an issue. Now it's in state legislatures where it's saying, we need to see it so you can be on our state ballot. So obviously this is an issue. So obviously the little process ain't working so well. You see what I'm saying?
There have been many studies. There have been many people investigating this. There have been Republicans investigating it. There has been people.
Don't you think the politicians in the states would see that and they wouldn't even take time to write legislation on this?
Do you not think that people have seen this and have came back and said
why are people writing laws to try and
because there's too much of a gray
Republicans
area.
have been making Republicans have been making every attempt to attack him. They've been calling him a tyrant. They've called him a socialist. They've posted pictures of him as a monkey.
That stuff has died.
They're saying
that stuff has died.
Excuse me. They're calling him an alien. If we were going to say that, if we're going to take every one of these accusations as proof, and that we need proof that he's not an alien, he's not a monkey, he's not a Muslim, is he going to have to walk around with his biography on his T-shirt saying what he is and what he stands for? And whether he's a Muslim, whether he's a Christian, whether he's a tyrant, whether he's a socialist, is he really going to have to walk around with these at all times, anytime someone accuses them of something?
They're just going to find out something
If this debate was incredible, somebody like Donald Trump wouldn't put their name on it.
Donald Trump. Are you going to give credibility to Donald Trump?
Donald Trump wouldn't put his name on just anything.
We're giving reality stars. We're giving reality stars the platform of deciding where our country is.
If he came out on an interview, they've asked him these questions on interviews like, "Yeah, I was born here." Show me. If he sat there with it, if he just came on the interview with it, then it'd be fine.
Where's your birth certificate?
I can show it to you.
Where is it at?
I can show you
until you show it to me, you're an illegal alien and you should be deported.
It's at home with my other documents. But I'm saying, since it became this huge of an issue in the United States to where people are drafting bills on this stuff, then you need to come out and strike these
How many times does he need to come out?
He just come out once.
He's done that.
No, he said that verbally, and it's come out and it showed up on the website.
Really, you followed him during the Senate campaign when he proved that he was an American.
This is the presidential
You didn't.
thing.
That's the problem. You didn't.
But I'm saying, if this wasn't,
that
y'all saying this little process is working so well. If it was working well, then state legislatures wouldn't come out.
These are accusations you heard, and the fact is that you weren't there during the Senate campaign.
This is one accusation that is sticking.
This is your lack of information.
Obviously, Illinois politics.
So he was an American when he was a senator, but something happened over those years that make him no longer an American.
Haven't been so great. So I'm saying, just to make sure, we need to check that process. And he can come out and say, this is it. So this wouldn't even be a campaign issue, because I honestly think his contenders are going to make this an issue.
And that's where we have to leave it off for today. Another interesting topic to discuss. But that's all the time we have for the show today. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in at the same time next week here on Scrambled Eggs.